The Sun Devils must win their next 3 games if they're going to keep their Big 12 title hopes alive, but are they ready for what might be the harshest home environment they will face this season?
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. Stay in touch by following me on Twitter, RichieBrads36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode, of course, is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. New customers, place a $5 bet. If it wins, you're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets. As long as you win that $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in to another edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, and it is time to talk about ASU against Kansas State, number 16 Kansas State, by the way. And it's been a while since we've done an episode like this. So a refresher, we're going to talk about what the game means. We're going to talk about how ASU wins this game on offense, on defense, and from the coaching. And then we're going to talk about what happens next. And we'll go ahead and start with what this game means. And it's pretty straightforward. This is a big game. This is one of the biggest games on your schedule. I said preseason, this was the biggest game on your schedule. I am going to stand firm that this is probably the biggest game on your schedule. It is certainly the toughest game on your schedule. I said preseason, this was without question a loss for Arizona State. It's a tough environment. Going to the Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas, it is tough, and they love their football out there, especially when Kansas State is good. They're always a good crowd. When K-State is good, that is as dynamic a home field advantage as you're going to find in college football. They are scary. And this team is pretty scary. I'm not calling them elite. They certainly are not, quote unquote, as good as what they were supposed to be in the preseason, but they're still only a 2-loss program, and they are in the thick of the hunt for the Big 12 title game. They have to win this game as much as ASU needs to win this game. If K-State loses this game, their title hopes are also probably gone. This is do or die for both teams. So ASU and Kansas State have a lot riding on this game. ASU, this is it. This is it. You lose this game, you're done. And you know what? That's fine. A 3-loss season, pending what happens in the other 2 games, is still huge. You're talking about flipping your record from last year, from 3-9 to potentially 9-3. That's massive. That's such a huge rebound for this team. But you still have a chance to go to the Big 12 title game. And if you get that far and if you get the win, you're going to the playoff. There is a lot on the line in this game. The problem is this is a road game. And my biggest question is, not only is ASU ready to win on the road, but more importantly, are they ready for the cream of the crop in the Big 12? K-State, they are cream of the crop. They were going into the year. They are still one of the top 4 teams in the Big 12, top 5 at worst. I don't know who you're placing ahead of them. BYU, Colorado, I think that's it. I don't know any other teams that I'm taking ahead of Kansas State right now. Hopefully ASU, but we're going to find out this weekend. But again, this is just such a dynamic home field advantage for Kansas State. I cannot stress that enough. It's going to be loud. It's going to be rowdy. It's going to be dangerous for ASU. Saying that you need to be on your A game is the biggest understatement that I could possibly make about what ASU needs to do in order to win this football game. The good news, the weather is very, very forgiving. The last I checked, and I checked yesterday, it is supposed to be in the 60s, which for ASU, that is more than playable in. Like for us, that's sweater weather. As you can see, I am rocking my ASU sweater right now, but that's also because my house is 60 degrees because when we're in the wintertime, we're saving money and not turning that heater on. Get a hoodie, get a blanket, you're going to be fine. Back to ASU. You can play in the 60s. That's not bad. I was worried preseason that mid-November in Manhattan, Kansas, and I've been to Manhattan many times. I had some family that went to Manhattan Christian College. It is a beautiful area. The weather can be absolutely freezing, especially for Arizona kids. It gets down to the 30s, the 20s, probably a little bit colder. I never experienced that kind of cold. It snows. There was a chance going into the year that this was going to be an ugly weather game for ASU. And they're dodging that bullet, which is going to help their chances to win this game. Because if it was a snowy game, slim to none is your chances of winning this game, and Slim just left town. Without that weather, it's a little more winnable. Your chances go up a little bit, not dramatically. Maybe you consider it dramatically from 0% to, I don't know, 10%, 15%. That could be dramatic in your eyes. It's not to me. That's not enough to win this game. And again, K-State is also playing for something. They are trying to get to the Big 12 title game. I keep trying to combine those just as badly as ASU is. The difference is K-State's expectations going into this year were so much dramatically better than Arizona State's was. I picked K-State to finish, I think I picked them to finish second in the Big 12. It was no worse than third. I picked K-State to go pretty far this year. I picked Kansas to win it all, and that has aged like milk. K-State, they're holding their own. Again, they're not the elite team I thought they would be. They're still pretty damn good, and they are more than good enough to handle Arizona State, especially at home. If this game were in Tempe, I'd feel a little different because ASU has been elite at home this year. They're undefeated at home this year. That is a great environment for ASU to play this game. Kansas State, they know how to win football games at home. Guess what? They're also undefeated this year. They have crushed UT Martin, which you should. They have crushed Arizona. They have crushed Oklahoma State. They got a very tight win over Kansas a couple of weeks ago, but Kansas is suddenly the best 3-6 team in college football. They are handling their opponents at home pretty well. There's not been close games. The closest game was Kansas 29-27. And again, Kansas is one of the hottest teams in college football right now. They're very, very good. So ASU is going into just as hostile an environment as K-State would be coming to Tempe. This is tough, man, and it still feels unwinnable. And I am the biggest wet blanket when it comes to ASU versus K-State. I was a wet blanket in June, and no one put me in the dryer. I am still just as wet of a blanket as we are in November. I don't like ASU's odds in this game. And spoiler alert, I'm probably taking ASU to lose tomorrow for our game day preview. But if you want to check out and take a look and see if I change my mind, definitely make sure those notifications are on. That one's going to be up bright and early, way earlier than we normally are. So have those notifications ready, and it'll be ready for you. You can check it out before College Game Day comes on. This is a chance for ASU. The last thing I want to say. This is a chance for ASU, and we've said this all year, to prove themselves, but this is different. This is a chance for ASU to not just prove themselves, but to prove that you are among the elite teams in the Big 12. You take down an elite team, you take them down on the road, there is no denying ASU is at worst one of the 4 best teams in the Big 12. Remember what I said during the offseason. There are 2 tiers in the Big 12, and then there's limbo. In the top tier, you had, man, did this age poorly, Kansas, Utah, Oklahoma State. All 3 of them are horrible. I also had K-State. That was just fine, and I was way too high on Arizona, and I'll never do that again. Never, ever, ever will I give you guys your roses. Sorry. In the bottom of the Big 12, in the cellar, you had Houston. Oh, God, who else did I have down there? I think I had Cincinnati pretty low. I had Colorado pretty low. No, nothing has turned out the way that we did. And then you had this limbo where it's like, are you going to be a good team or are you going to be a bad team? Because I don't know where to put you. And I put ASU in that limbo. I said, you could be a really good team or you could be one of the worst teams. I don't know what to do with you. Well, ASU is a lot closer to being one of the best teams in the Big 12 than they are one of the worst teams. Definitively, not even close. You're already 7 wins. There's 3 games left to go. You could have a 10-win season. ASU was, excuse me, ASU is so far ahead of where anyone thought they would be. Farther ahead than I said 7-5. They already have 7 wins, and they're not losing out. If they lose out, I would be shocked. This is a chance to advertise yourself not just as a good team, but as an elite team in the Big 12. Keep in mind, the Big 12 is wide open too. This has been a conference that has eaten each other alive this year. But this is your chance for ASU to take down the only team from the preseason that we said was going to be elite and has proven to pretty much be elite. This is your chance. This is probably your second biggest statement game. Your game next week against BYU is going to be your biggest statement game. But this is a road game, and this is a good football team. Next up, let's talk about how ASU wins this football game. There's a key for offense, a key for defense, and a key for the coaching. That's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Guys, if you are looking for, the most delicious gift this holiday season to get your family, then you got to check out our friends at Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy like the unrivaled quality and the taste of Omaha Steaks. So this year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50%, ladies and gentlemen, off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 reward card with the promo code COLLEGE. That's unbeatable. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And with gifting experts at Omaha Steaks, they've made it easy, super easy, in fact, to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide. Site-wide, 50%. omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners are going to get an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE, COLLEGE. Nice and simple, and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. That's let's try again. OMAHA steaks.com, and an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may be applied. Let me also talk to you about our friends over at Home Field. My goodness, if you're looking for the best apparel in college football, you need to check out Home Field Apparel. It's made by the college football fan for the college football fan. They're based out of Indianapolis with a focus on creating comfortable, officially licensed apparel. Not just any apparel, vintage apparel. And it's more than 180 schools and counting. So guess what? If you're a Kansas State fan listening to this podcast, they got Kansas State stuff. If you are a Colorado fan that's tuning in, if for some reason you're a Georgia fan that's turning in, guess what? Home Field Apparel has your stuff. Home Field's football boxes. It's my personal favorite that they sell. The football boxes include 3 never-before-seen items for your school that simply aren't available anywhere else. Home field also has items that are fit for any occasion and any weather condition. So if it's 110 degrees outside, or if it dips into the 30s, you're always going to have high quality merchandise to stay supportive of your school. You can shop for your team on homefieldapparel.com and use my personal promo code ASU24 for 15% off your first purchase. The code is good store wide. That's not just Arizona State apparel, although I recommend it. Go to homefieldapparel.com today and get the best licensed apparel out there. Use my promo code ASU24 to get 15% off of your order. Wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You will get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day. But of course, a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Now that that's good, let's talk about how you win this game, because it's not impossible. It's not necessarily improbable. I'm just a wet blanket. Here's how you win the game. Starting on offense for ASU. This is a good K-State defense. They've got a lot of very quality players. They're very well coached. They've been very good this year. Kansas State is the fourth best scoring defense in the Big 12. 21.7 points allowed. The fourth best overall defense in total yards, 329.7 yards per game. Number 10 against the pass, so they're beatable there, 230.2 yards per game. Keep in mind, they do have the second most sacks in the league with 25, and they have 8 interceptions, so they're opportunistic. And they're number 1 against the run, 99.4 yards per game. That's pretty good. They are the only team in the Big 12 that is allowing under 100 rushing yards per game. They're stout. And it's not like they haven't played good run good run games this year. They played Kansas, they played West Virginia, they played Oklahoma State earlier in the year when they weren't dreadful. They are playing good run games, and they're playing at a high level. This is not easy. But with that being said, that doesn't mean that you don't run your offense literally and figuratively through Cam Skattebo. That's your boy. That has not changed, and it will never change as long as he is at ASU. So whether it's these last 3 games of the regular season, whatever happens in the postseason, or if he somehow magically gets himself another year of eligibility, which, manifesting, but I don't think it's there, and I don't think he would take it anyways. He's going to the pros. As long as he is at ASU, that is your offense. You saw last week without Cam Skattebo, ASU wasn't quite the same. They didn't run the football as well. They were under 100 yards, under 4 yards per carry. It was not the best day for the run game. The good news is Sam Leavitt had a terrific game as a passer, and that's going to be the second step here to winning this game. But Cam Skattebo, no matter what. Cam Skattebo, no matter what. Let me know if you understand that reference in the comments. But the second step here is Leavitt. He's got to continue to play at a high level. He is strung together back-to-back great performances. Not good performances, great performances. Sam Leavitt is playing just as good as any other quarterback in the Big 12 right now. He's got 6 touchdowns with 0 interceptions over the last 2 weeks. I'm pulling up his stats right now. He's not the biggest yards guy. Last week he had over 200 or over. Did I have it backwards? I did have it backwards. 2 weeks ago against Oklahoma State, he was over 300 yards. Last week, he was only 161 yards, but he was efficient. Like I said, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, about 65, maybe 66% completion. He's been phenomenal since the bye week. If he continues to play at that high of a level, especially against a pass defense that is beatable, you've got a very good chance to score points in this game, even against one of the better scoring defenses in the league. If you've got a quarterback that's able to move you up and down the field, score touchdowns, and don't forget, he's a dual threat. He hasn't even really run the ball the last couple of weeks. He had 5 rushing yards against Oklahoma State and 22 rushing yards against UCF. He is beating you as a passer right now. If he starts getting going in the run game, which I don't know if this is the week against the number one run defense, but that's a quarterback that can beat you in more ways than one. That's how you win on offense. How you win on defense? Well, K-State, number 9 in scoring. So just outside of the top half of the league, still 31.2 points per game. Number 6 overall in total offense, 422.6 yards per game. They're number 10 in passing. We're going to talk about passing pretty specifically here in a minute. 214.2 yards per game. They're the third best rushing team. I would have lost that bet. I would have thought they were number 1 with 208.3 yards per game. Here's where we start. You have got to have your best performance against the run this year. When ASU has faced good running backs, they've struggled. They've been carved up by some of the better running backs in the league. The only guy that they shut down was Ollie Gordon, and guess what? Ollie Gordon has been very beatable this year for Oklahoma State. I don't even know if he's going to be there next year. He might declare. Maybe he looks in the transfer portal. I don't know, but this was a dreadful year for him. Other than that, pretty much every other Big 12 team, because every Big 12 team apparently has a really good running back with them, whether it's RJ Harvey or Devin Neal or, God, who else has ASU played this year? The kid from Cincinnati whose name I still can't remember, apparently. Taj Brooks. They have faced a lot of good running backs this year, and those guys have all gone over 100 yards on ASU. They're going up against DJ Giddens. DJ Giddens, every bit as elite as any running back in the Big 12 this year. 995 rushing yards, 6.1 yards per carry, only 5 touchdowns on the ground, which seems kind of weird, but he's a threat in the passing game. 17 catches, 213 yards, and another score. So sure, maybe he's not getting into the end zone a lot, but he's getting a lot of yards, and that sets up the K-State offense to score points. DJ Giddens a beast. Can you hold him under 100 yards is my biggest question for this game, because you haven't been able to do it against some of the other elite backs in the Big 12. And he's had big games. He has a 182-yard game. He has a 187-yard game, 114, 124, 102. He only has 2 games this year with under 60 rushing yards. Other than that, he's dominated his competition. ASU needs to figure out a way to stop him, because K-State also has a dual threat quarterback with Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson this year, 73 carries, 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry. He's also lost 79 yards on 10 sacks. He is a good runner, if not a great runner. Here's the thing. He is young, and he looks like a freshman as a passer. There has been some big time ups and some big time downs with him. On the season, 61% completion, 1,892 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He is doing enough for K-State. To put it perfectly, for every 3 passes, and this is not my words, this is something I heard from Drake Toll of Locked On Locked On Big 12. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Locked On Big 12 squad episodes, definitely do that. It's just a roast session. So much fun. For every 3 passes, you have a dime, you have one that goes into the third level of the stands to the prettiest girl there, and you have one, what the heck are you doing? This is a guy that is very, very beatable. The last 2 weeks, 55.9% completion and 59% completion. He struggles, and this is a pretty solid ASU passing defense. They're not elite, but they've got the pieces. The safeties are great, and your corners have really stepped up this year. And if LT Welsh can build off of what he did last week, you're going to be able to have a good day against his passing attack, which is fine. It's not great. It's fine. ASU can beat this passing attack. That being said, this is what we said last week against Dylan Risk from UCF. And what did they do? They had a really great scheme, and they got the ball out quick, and they let the receivers do the work, and Risk had a good day. That's going to go ahead and lead into the coaching. With our three coaches, Kenny Dillingham, Marcus Arroyo, Brian Ward, here's how you win the game. Starting with Kenny Dillingham, you have got to get these boys ready for probably the best home environment that they will face this year. You have got to get them ready to go. It's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. If I haven't said that enough on this episode, I cannot stress that enough. This is going to be a hectic game for Arizona State. And they've struggled on the road this year. They struggled in Lubbock. They struggled in Cincinnati. Two very quality teams. And Lubbock is a great home field environment. K-State is better. I'm sorry, Texas Tech fans. It is not a diss at all. I know you guys still tune in. Please do not take that as disrespect. Kansas State is something else. They're one of the best in the country when they're good, and they're good. ASU has got to be ready. Kenny Dillingham has to get these guys ready. Marcus Arroyo, what's he got to do? It's pretty simple. Run the ball with Cam Scatterbo. It doesn't matter how efficient he is or not, because ASU has won games when he's under 3 yards a carry, and they've won games where he's over 7. You commit to Cam Scatterbo no matter what. 20 rushing attempts, 25 total touches, 30 total touches, I don't care. Your offense goes through Cam Scatterbo no matter what, because it's going to set up the passing game for Sam Leavitt. If K-State is selling out on the run, then Jordan Tyson's getting one-on-one coverage. And guess what? Leavitt to Tyson has been money this year. Commit to Scatterbo no matter what. I don't care what's going on. And Brian Ward, our defensive coordinator and the number one guy on the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. I don't know if there's another guy that we just praise over and over than Brian Ward. You have got to tighten up against a run game. This is a team that has struggled against elite running backs this year. You've got to step up. This cannot be a continued pattern for you, or you're losing this game. Because if you do that, you are going to find a way to get after Avery Johnson. And that also means different coverages. You got to disguise them. You've got to find a way to make it so this young quarterback has a difficult time reading the defense. And most importantly, don't give up the easy completions, because that's how UCF was able to have success against you last week. Through the passing game, at least. Obviously, RJ Harvey went crazy. They had no problem moving the ball through the air with a redshirt freshman quarterback because it was easy. You can't do that a second straight week. Tighten that up, or you're going to lose this football game. What happens next? That's what we're talking about coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Ladies and gentlemen, FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, so get ready to tackle the NFL action with America's #1 sportsbook right now. New customers, you bet $5, you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That can be on anything. That's a player prop. That's an over-under. That's a spread. Whatever you are feeling is going to win. If it wins, that's $150 in bonus bets. The FanDuel Sportsbook app also gives you everything you need to place live bets all in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you're thinking someone's going to score a touchdown, you think that someone's going to make a comeback, you can check out the latest stats via live play-by-play and more on the same page where you are placing your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join the day. And again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet, which can be whatever you want. It can be a parlay if you're feeling it. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. One last time, wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. You will get an update whenever we post new content. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. What happens next? We'll keep this nice and tight because it's been a long episode. It's very simple. What happens next? A win keeps your title hopes alive. You win this game, it is not over for you to go to the Big 12 playoffs. Another reference for you. Let me know if you understand this reference. It wasn't over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor, and it ain't over now. Got a lot of fun references in this episode. Let me know if you understood them all. This is the game. that is going to separate you. Because you beat K-State, look at that. K-State's out. That is one less team to worry about. And then you've got a couple of other teams that you need to lose. You still need Colorado to lose. And that's going to be tough because Colorado's schedule is pretty favorable the rest of the way. They do have 3 trap games left on their schedule, but there are also 3 games that they could cruise by and win by 10 plus points. If Colorado loses, you have a tiebreaker. Now, we talked about tiebreakers earlier this week, and like I said, I don't understand them entirely. What I was led to believe is if Colorado and ASU have the same conference record, ASU will have the tiebreaker. And that starts with beating K-State because Colorado did not beat K-State. And that is one of the common denominators here is your win-loss record against teams that have the best win-loss record in the conference. So you're talking about a team that would be, 7-3, 6-3? It'd only be 4-3? Oh, that's crazy. Well, I guess if they win out, that would be where you get 6-3. Okay, I'm not crazy. See, they'd be a 6-3 team. That's one of the better teams in the conference. So you would have that stuff kind of balance out and go in your favor. Like I said, I don't know 100% because Colorado beat Texas Tech and ASU lost to Texas Tech. That's also a team that's going to be 3 losses unless something happens. But it helps you with your tiebreaker, which helps you get to the title game. So this isn't just about knocking out K-State and starting to eliminate your competition. This is also about getting you in a position where if Colorado is to lose another game, you have that chance to hold a tiebreaker and beat them. That's huge. Second thing here, or not second thing. If you lose, and this is where we'll wrap up the show, you're done. Your title hopes are done. Your season's not over by any stretch of the imagination. You've got a winning record. You're going to the postseason. You're just not going to the Big 12 title game, which means you're not going to the playoff. And that's fine. That wasn't the expectation going into the year. But we're at a point in the season where we're really hoping you're going to get there. It hasn't turned into an expectation. If you lose this game, nobody in Tempe, or at least you shouldn't be in Tempe, is going, oh, that was a wasted season. I can't believe it, blah, blah, blah. That would be silly if you were to actually say, oh, man, the season's over. It's lost if we lose to K-State. You have surpassed every expectation this year. Pick to finish last in the conference. Some people said you weren't going to win any games this year. There was a lot of consensus that ASU was one of the worst teams in the conference, if not the worst team in the conference. And you were one of the best. Even if you lose this game, I mean, short of losing by like 40 or 50 points, and that's not happening, I think ASU can cover an 8.5-point spread from our friends over at FanDuel. And if you want to bet on that spread, go ahead and do that. If you bet $5 and it wins, as long as you're a new customer, that's $150 in bonus bets for you. This is it's gonna knock you out of the Big 12 title race. I mean, at that point, you would need the biggest chaos scenario to happen. You're talking about Colorado having 3 losses, and K-State would probably need a 4th loss, and you would need Texas Tech to have a 4th loss. It would be insanity. So it's not happening. It'd be so less than like a 0.1% chance at that point of you making the Big 12 title game. You're talking about the craziest scenario. So if you're going to keep those title hopes alive, you have to win this game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Doesn't matter if you win by 1. Doesn't matter if you win by 10, 30, 100. A win is a win, ladies and gentlemen. That is all that matters in this game. I don't care how you do it. If it's 10 overtimes, or if you beat them outright, or a game-winning field goal. We all know that's not happening. This is just a must-win if you are going to continue vying for the Big 12 championship game. What do you guys think? Is this a win? Is this a loss? Are you a wet blanket just like me, or are you an optimist who is actually able to have a little more faith than me? Unfortunately. Let me know in the comments. You can always hit me up on Twitter as well at Richie Bradshaw 36. The podcast is there. as well at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, hit like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. You will get an update whenever we post new content. I, of course, appreciate each and every single one of you. I do have a special shout out for my everydayers who are here every day. We will be back again tomorrow for your game day preview of ASU on the road against number 16, Kansas State. That means we're going through the offense. We're going through the defense. We're going through players to watch. We've got bold predictions on offense and defense, and we've got a final score that hopefully I will change my mind on. But we will see, and you'll have to tune in to see what that is. I'll see you then. Until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.